Cities across the United States are growing. This is kind of strange considering we have a serious small town and rural migration thing going on in the US these days. Some cities aren't just growing though, they're blowing up. We're talking about places with now hiring signs that are as common as Starbucks on city blocks. They got for sale signs in front of houses that disappear faster than my train of thought when someone suggests opening up a taco stand at a gym. These are signs a city is growing. And it's across the country, from tech trendsetters setting up shop in Silicon Hills in Austin, Texas, to the music mavens turning Nashville into more than just the home of country music. There's a city out there that's just right for nearly everyone's taste these days. The cities on this list are currently the fastest growing cities that are also predicted to actually pick up steam in the coming years, meaning they're growing now and it ain't slowing down. There are some good things and there's some bad things with cities that are growing. Unless you're looking for new tax dollars or you're selling something, it's usually bad things. More traffic, higher cost of living, more crime, and of course, higher real estate prices. Today we look at cities you might want to avoid if you don't like crowds and paying a little extra for real estate. We're going to show you how these places have been growing, where they're at now, and where they're expected to be at the 2030 census. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Tampa, Florida. Yes, it is Tampa, not Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is a thing, but there's actually a city called Tampa. Now, one thing to keep in mind that I didn't mention in the intro, we're just looking at the city itself, not the entire metro area. But Tampa's been on the rise for a while now, and there's a bunch of reasons why people are drawn to this city. They have a very diverse economy, so there's a job here for everything, from financial services, healthcare, technology, and customer service. Customer service is big here. This means whatever your skill set is, there's a good chance you could find a gig in Tampa. Compared to other major cities, especially those with similar growth trajectories, Tampa's cost of living has been relatively low and it's stayed there. Now, it is a beach community, so theoretically, and if you just go by the averages, it should be very expensive, but no, Tampa's cost of living is actually 1% lower than the national average. So whether you're fresh out of college or you're at a retirement age, this is good news, especially if you want to live near the coast. It's Florida, so other than hurricane season, the weather is either hot and sunny or warm and sunny. That's another reason this place is going to grow. Now, if you are a retiree, keep in mind about 18% of the population here claim they are retired. And there's currently over 35 senior living communities in the Tampa Bay area. Now here's the nuts and bolts. In the 2010 census, they grew by almost 11%, putting them at about 335,000 residents. In 2020, they jumped up 14.7% to 384. It is predicted that the 2030 census, they will reach 440,000. Now I'm going to restate this again so we don't have someone leaving this comment because someone will say, no, Tampa's got like 3 million residents. No, the metro area has like 3 million. We're just talking about the city of Tampa, which currently has about 384,000 residents. Number 9, Orlando, Florida. So first of all, if you don't know, people do actually live in Orlando. It's not just an amusement park center. A lot of people think that. I don't know why. It is the place where you will find Universal Studios, Disney World, SeaWorld, things like that. Big industry here is the hospitality industry. It's massive. If you work in hotels, if you work in customer service, and you need a job, head to Orlando. There's a ton of new housing being built to keep up with the growing population, which is always good. But of course, it's bad because now you have more traffic, they need more roads. It's just a never-ending cycle of your tax dollars flying out of your pocket, like me at a taco stand in a gym. But if you don't know, Orlando is smack dab in the middle of the state, and it is a great place for business and logistics. It's very convenient for any company that has to have, people traveling or they have to ship things. It's very convenient. And of course, as we know, Florida goes easy on the taxes too, so that's a plus. Even with all the infrastructure, they might raise the taxes a little bit here or there, but it stays pretty low compared to other states. Like New Jersey. Those people, they just love their taxes out there. At what point will someone sue New Jersey for mental anguish because of their tax system? In 2010, Orlando only had about 238,000 residents. Then in 2020, it jumped up to 307,000. It's a 29.1% increase. In 2030, they're expected to crest 375,000. The Orlando metro area currently has about 2.6 million residents. It's expected to get close to 3.5 by the 2030 census. Number 8, Dallas, Texas. Dallas has everything from cowboy boots to corporate headquarters. It's big on business, but it also has a booming cultural scene that's really diverse. They have a lot of things going on there. It's not just this Western culture. We just talked about the rumors and misinformation about Texas. They do have a proud history of that whole Western culture thing, but it's so much more than that. Tech industries are booming in this area, and that brings a different breed of person that isn't into the cowboy boot, Western, country music lifestyle. With a mix of Fortune 500 companies and a slew of other businesses in industries like finance, tech, defense, and energy, the job market here is as hot as a Texas barbecue. I had some great barbecue while I was there, like 4 different places. It was amazing. I even stopped at a guy that was on the side of the road. There's like 4 other people there just waiting for this guy to cook barbecue on the side of the road. He had his van and a barbecue, and it was great. He asked where I was from. I told him Oregon. I swear he was getting my food ready. He kind of paused for a minute. He goes, "I'll feed you anyway." I was like, man, it's kind of rough. Dallas and pretty much all of Texas has become a magnet for corporations setting up their headquarters. Companies are drawn by the business-friendly policies, no state income tax, and a relatively low cost of living and a low cost of doing business. Honestly, while I was there, the only thing that really bothered me, and it's a personal thing, and I think a lot of us go through this, if you're visiting a place and it's not the natural environment you're used to, it feels a little weird in the beginning. I was there a week, and it isn't a desert, but it just, compared to where I'm from, up here in the Portland metro area, it's a little desert-ish to me, you know? And that's saying a lot. If that's the only thing I took from spending a week there that kind of bothered me, that's saying a lot for the city. I happened to walk down to the Dealey Plaza, check out where Kennedy was killed and all that stuff. Didn't get hassled by a bunch of homeless people. Didn't have to avoid a homeless camp. There are areas like that, but it's not everywhere like a lot of other cities. In 2010, the city of Dallas had just under 1.2 million residents. In 2020, they had 1.3 million. By 2030, they're expected to have 1.6 million residents in the city alone. Number 7, Denver, Colorado. Yep, the Mile High City made the list. Even though in 2022 they lost like 0.2%, they're still expected to grow by quite a bit by 2030. The quality of life in Denver is pretty good, even though it's got some problems like all major cities. They get 300 days of sunshine every single year. I know a lot of people think, since it's the Mile High City, if you've never been there, you just imagine that it's some city tucked away in the mountains. It gets winter and it gets snow, but they get a lot of sunshine. Might not always be the warmest sunshine, but it's sunshine. This is also another one if you like a good beer scene and wine scene and great food. Denver's got that for you, and that's what's bringing in a lot of people. Now, that's not it, obviously. Denver has a lot of tech jobs, and they have a lot of infrastructure-related jobs like their transit system that they're building out. All of that is just bringing people in, but the reality is people have always been flooding into the Denver area. In 2010, Denver, Colorado had 600,000 residents. In 2020, they had 715,000, and they're predicted to have 820,000 by 2030. Number 6, San Antonio, Texas. San Antonio is gaining popularity like an all-you-can-drink free beer garden, drawing folks in with its unique blend of history, culture, and modern-day opportunities. Yes, and they got great tacos. The river walk's pretty cool. The city is a historical gem with the Alamo and a slew of other missions that tell the tale of Texas. There's also a heavy military presence in San Antonio. I was there 2 years ago. That was the time I went there to film the Riverwalk, and it was drained for that week. They clean it out every year or so. No idea. This is also somewhat of a college town with the University of Texas at San Antonio. It's growing in size and its reputation is blowing up, and they have other smaller universities in the area. It just brings people in. Your dollar definitely goes a lot further in San Antonio than a lot of other parts of Texas, so that's something to keep in mind. That's kind of why a lot of people are moving there too. This is one of the best places to retire if you're in the military. Now, what's really strange is I did a video about a poll on where military people thought the best place to retire was. San Antonio was not on that list, and it should have been, 100%. At least that's my opinion. I mean, the city's called Military City, USA. That's one of its nicknames. In 2010, the city of San Antonio, Texas had 1.3 million residents. In 2020, it had 1.4. By 2030, it's expected to reach 1.7 million residents. Number 5, Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix is already huge. It's the most populated state capital in the country. Currently, they have 1.6 million residents, and I believe it's like one of maybe 3 state capitals that have over 1 million residents. Austin, Texas should crack the million mark thing in the next couple of years. The entire Metro Phoenix area is crowded too. They have almost 5 million residents. And in case you don't know, Phoenix is where you go to retire, drive a golf cart, and get melanoma. They have all the things you want in retirement. Plenty of sunshine, plenty of warm weather, plenty of golf courses, and plenty of retirement communities. That's one thing I gotta do. I gotta do a video on the best retirement communities in the United States. That could be good. You know, one thing about Phoenix, I don't think people realize how great of a place this is for the outdoors. Sure, you think sunny weather and it's great to be outdoors, but a lot of people think it might be too hot to do things. It can be, but it's not all the time. There's plenty of places to go hiking, biking, and trail running. They have nearby mountains, and it's all not just a big flat desert with concrete. Phoenix is growing, not just in population, but in size. It is sprawling, and it's sprawling even more every single year. Which, of course, this brings more amenities, cultural venues, restaurants, and shopping, making it an attractive place for both singles and families, not just retirees. This is another place that doesn't really get natural disasters. They don't get hurricanes, earthquakes, or tornadoes. They do get these big dust storms. I think they're called hullabaloos, something like that. But those are just inconvenient and they don't take your house away. In 2010, Phoenix had a population of 1.4 million residents. In 2020, it jumped up to 1.6 million, and it's expected to crest 2 million people at the 2030 census. Number 4, Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte's banking on finance, literally. It's a big banking city and with growing tech scene. It's becoming the East Coast cool cousin to Silicon Valley. Charlotte right now is one of the best places to move to in the United States as far as big cities go. It's not just finance and tech. Well, I guess it is tech. You have a lot of like data rooms and business services coming out of Charlotte these days. It is the second largest banking center in the United States after New York City. It's home to one of Bank of America's headquarters and major operations of Wells Fargo. So if you're, have a finance degree, this is probably a good place to go take a look. But if you have that degree, you already know this. Despite its massive growth, Charlotte has managed to keep its cost of living reasonable. And when I say reasonable, I want to say this again, reasonable for a big city. If you're living in Moose Knuckle, Arkansas, behind a junkyard, I'm sure your cost of living's pretty low, and it's probably going to be lower than Charlotte. But we're comparing it to other cities in the United States. One other thing about Charlotte is they have 4 very distinct seasons, none of which are too extreme. It's a comfortable living for those that hate blizzards and aren't really into 3 months of heat waves. They have good parks, good schools, reputation for being relatively safe. It's got its spots, just like every other city, but overall, Charlotte's a pretty safe place to live. It's also a pretty popular place for YouTubers. I know Mr. Beast, he's from there, grew up there, but I know 3 other YouTube creators that now live in North Carolina. One of them is from Colorado, another one is from Alabama, and then one's from California, and they all moved, not together, but they all just happen to live in North Carolina now. What's funny is for a while there, I was looking at some property on a lake outside of Charlotte. In 2010, Charlotte's population was 731,000 residents. In 2020, that jumped up to 874,000, and it's predicted by the 2030 census they will crest 1 million residents. The entire metro area is expected to blow up there too. Right now it's sitting at about 2.6 million residents, and they think it's going to get over 3.5. A lot of construction going on out in the suburbs of the Charlotte area. Number 3, Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville's weird. Since I've been doing these lists, they'll be on the list for the, fastest growing states for like 2 years. Then they'll fall completely out of the top 10. Then they'll be back on the top 10. It's weird. Their migration patterns are a little bipolar. In my life, I've only met one person that just had nothing but horrible things to say about Nashville. Most everyone I've ever run into just thinks it's the greatest city on the planet. This guy grew up outside of Nashville. I was in the military with him, didn't know him that well, but he was like from a little town. I think it was like Hartsville. Here it is, Hartsville. That's where he was. He was from Hartsville, which is about an hour northeast of Nashville. He had all these country things to say about it. They need to mow it over and give it back to the land. Just all this weird stuff all the time. He thought there's nothing but sinners there. I think there are. But it's not just the music that's bringing people into Nashville. It's the hot chicken and healthcare jobs. There are more than 300 healthcare companies, including the headquarters for the Hospital Corporation of America. Tennessee is another great state for low taxes, and it's not just for your personal, it's for the business. They have pretty low business taxes in the whole state of Tennessee, not just Nashville. So that's also good. That's bringing a lot of companies in, entrepreneurs, startups, things of that nature. Nashville has a lot of mortgage companies and a lot of attorneys and lawyers or whatnot. There's also seems to be quite a few insurance companies as well. So there's pretty much an industry here for everyone. And that's bringing them in. In 2010, Nashville, Tennessee had 601,000 residents. In 2020, that jumped up to almost 690,000 residents. And by 2030, it's predicted they will hit over 800,000 residents. Number 2, Raleigh, North Carolina. Raleigh is its own city. A lot of people think it's part of Raleigh-Durham. It is. It's kind of in this little, tri-city thing, but it's actually its own city. Just recently, we were talking about Raleigh and how they've got this research triangle. There's a lot of schools in there, and there's a lot of research companies, so they got brains, and they got some beauty. Tech and biotech companies are sprouting up all over the Raleigh area. They've got North Carolina State University in Raleigh and nearby Duke University. And the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, that's not too far away. Their economy is in great shape right now, and it's expected to get better. I think because they have such great healthcare in this area, the health insurance and life insurance are pretty low in this part of the country. I was doing a research on insurance prices around the country, and I remember seeing that Raleigh area had really low life insurance and really low healthcare insurance premiums. I wonder if their car insurance is low too. When you go to Raleigh, it's known as the City of Oaks. That's something you should keep in mind because you look and all the streets have great trees. I know that seems weird to bring up, but the first time I ever went to Raleigh, I was like, God, there's so many trees here. And then the person I was with go, yeah, they call it the City of Oaks because it's mostly oak trees. I just looked it up and they have 3 nicknames: the City of Oaks, Raleighwood, and Oak City. Raleigh is also one of the cities that always ranks high for quality of life. So if you're looking for a great place to live, you could do so much worse than Raleigh, North Carolina. In 2010, they had 403,000 residents. In 2020, they had 467,000. And in 2030, they're expected to have over 550,000 residents. Currently, their entire metro area has about 1.4 million, and that's expected to get over 1.7 million by 2030. All right, before we get to number 1, if you're thinking about moving to one of these cities or any place in the country, there's a link for Home and Money in the description area below. You can go down there, get on their website. They can get you in touch with a real estate agent anywhere in the country. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Austin, Texas. Yes, we sort of talked about Austin earlier. Texas is still a great place to move to. I mean, each one of the cities other than Houston is a great place to live right now. Houston's got some problems. It's not the worst city in the United States, but their crime rate is kind of climbing at an uncomfortable pace. All the other cities are great places to live. And again, we're going to have some people comment in the comment section that they're not that great. Well, we're comparing it to other cities in the United States, other big cities, okay? So when you tell me that, I don't know, Austin or San Antonio has a high crime rate, go look at St. Louis. Go look and see what's going on in Detroit or Southside Chicago, Gary, Indiana. Then come back and tell me how bad San Antonio is, or Austin in this case. This city's like a cool kid that everyone wants to hang with. It's known for its awesome music scene, tech jobs, and vibes that say, keep Austin weird. This is another one of those places. Just the other day, we talked about how Richmond, Virginia likes that moniker. So does Portland, Oregon, and Austin also. A lot of people say Austin's been pumping out those bumper stickers longer than Portland, but who knows? Austin has been hitting the charts as one of the fastest growing cities in the US for a while now, and it's not just because of the great barbecue and their music scene. Like I said, great tech jobs, a lot of startups have been going on here. They got a statue of Stevie Ray Vaughan. This is also a capital city, so they have a ton of government jobs here. And despite their recent growth, Austin's housing market has been relatively affordable. The prices have been going up, but it still offers a better cost of living than many other tech hubs in this country. Just about anything tech is going on in Austin right now. If you want to work in a data room, great. You want to work for a factoring company, even better. Digital asset management is big here. Someone told me medical coding services. There's some companies there that do that. I didn't really find any proof, but that's just coming from someone that's worked there for years doing that. So Austin has a lot to offer in the jobs department, and that's bringing people in. It's not just the music, it's not just the food, it's not just the people. It's the jobs and the economy. In 2010, Austin had about 790,000 residents. In 2020, they had 961,000. That's quite a jump. Austin is expected to crack 1.2 million residents by the 2030 census. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, and be nice to each other.